everybody. Thank you for coming today. If you don't know me, my name's Rachel and I'm one of the membership and engagement leads at Learning Disability England, and I'm going to be facilitating today. I think we've got a really exciting session planned. This is the third in a series of sessions about how we share self-advocacy best practice. And it's a little bit different because we've got people from the OU sharing with us today. But I think their reports and research are really interesting. Sorry if I look distracted, I'm still letting people in. So we're going to start. I hope you've all had the agenda. I did send it out earlier.
No, I haven't had a chance to look at it, but never mind.
Oh, never mind. I'll give you a
No,
brief
I haven't. No.
Okay. So we're going to start off with one of the teams from the OU, and they're going to tell us about their Fill in the Gaps project. And then we're going to hear from 2 of the 11 self-advocacy groups who took part in that project. And we've picked 2 because we don't have loads of time today. And they've got their ACE and Sunderland. And I think you guys are all here. I've not spotted Andy, but I've spotted some others. So I hope, oh, here he is, he's sat in the waiting room, that's why. So they're going to have 5 minutes to tell us what they've been doing throughout the pandemic. And then we're going to have a little bit of time where some of the other groups who were involved in that project can share what they were doing as well. But I would also encourage everyone to just go and read the reports too, because that'll give you more details about what everyone's been doing. And I think there's a lot for us to learn from all of them. And then after that, Jane's going to share with us the research he's been doing around keeping people connected. And then we're going to have a chance for everybody to discuss together what we've been talking about and, you know, the actions that we can take forward. Before we get going with that, just some housekeeping. If you can mute yourself if you're not talking, that would be really good, just so we can have a nice clean recording. I'm going to record the session so that we can clip it and put it on our website. We've got a page where we share self-advocacy best practice, and we can put the PowerPoints and everyone's contact details who've spoken today. So if you want to connect with them, you can. And I'll be sending the links out to that probably tomorrow. And what else have I got to tell you? If you want to ask a question in the session, you can give us a wave, or if you click on participants at the bottom, it'll bring a bar up on the right hand side and you can click raise hand. And that'll let me know that you want to speak. But we're going to try and save all the questions for the points in the agenda where we're all going to talk rather than in the middle of the presentations, if that's okay. Rachel,
this is going to be really quick. I won my award for Dimensions. I can't pronounce it properly.
Dimensions.
You guys.
I saw
for connecting and information. So that's why I won it.
Well done. Well done. Congratulations.
Oh, Rachel, did you knew I was on the BBC, right?
I did.
Yeah, it was
fabulous.
Yeah, and I've done other things as well. Yeah, I've done other things.
Fabulous. I think we've got a lovely group of people here today, so I think there'll be lots of good connections that people can pull together. And I will, if anyone wants to connect with anyone individually, let me know and I will help you guys do that.
Okay.
So these sessions have been funded by RTR, and because of that, we're having it evaluated, and Beth's here today from the OU, and she's going to be doing that. But that's not really about you guys, it's just about the presenters.
Just a little girl scribbling in the corner, making notes.
Yeah, so you don't need to worry about that. But we might ask you for some feedback at the end, and if you could maybe just stick something in the chat about how you found the session, or if there's anything that we could do better, that would be really appreciated.
Cool.
So I think that might be everything that I have to tell you. So I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to hand over to Liz, Lorna and Sean.
Okay.
About their research project.
I thought we were first, but apparently that's been changed. Okay.
Oh, sorry, Mark. So after these guys have spoken, it's your turn.
Okay.
All right.
The agenda must have got changed somehow. Okay.
Hi everyone, so it's Liz here speaking. I'm a researcher from the Open University, and we're really delighted to have a chance to talk to you about some research we did earlier this year, which was focused on looking at what self-advocacy groups had been doing to support people with learning disabilities during the pandemic, particularly around their health and well-being. So I'm going to pass over first of all to my colleague Lorna, who's going to do the first part of the presentation, then we'll move to Sean, and then I'll come in at the end, and it'll take about 5 minutes. Thank you. And sorry, a huge thanks to Learning Disability England as well for giving us the chance to talk to you all today. We're really grateful for the opportunity. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Lorna. I think I've met quite a few of you. So just to start by giving you a bit of background to the research. So COVID-19 has obviously made life hard for a lot of people with learning disabilities. And we heard about self-advocacy groups who were doing lots of really amazing things to help people. So we decided to do some research to find out a bit more about what people were doing and what they'd found had worked well for them. Next slide, please. So what we did, we spoke to people from 11 self-advocacy groups in England. The people we interviewed were 22 self-advocates, 14 self-advocacy support workers, and 2 family members. And obviously, because of COVID-19, we did the interviews, they were all done remotely, so either online, so by Zoom, or over the phone. Next slide, please.
Sorry, there we go.
Thank you. And one of the main things that we found is that self-advocacy groups had got a lot of their members online really early on in the pandemic. And they'd done this by helping people to get equipment, they'd helped people to access the internet, and they taught people how to use the technology. And this helped lots of people to stay connected during the pandemic. And people told us that this filled in a gap because other services didn't always manage to get people online as fast as this in the first lockdown. Pass you over to Sean now.
Thank you, Lorna. Offline help, but not everyone could get online. So many of self-advocacy groups set up phone rotors. They phoned their members regularly. Some people with learning disabilities said this was the only contact they had during lockdown. Next slide, please. Practical support. Self-advocacy groups played a vital role with sorting out and delivering medication, helping people do food shopping, and delivering food packages. Next slide, please. Supporting people with mental health and well-being. Self-advocacy groups did lots of things to help people with well-being. For example, organising fun events and activities on Zoom, sending out activities and information in the post, keeping in contact with people and reducing loneliness, putting people in touch with services they faced a mental health crisis. Over to you, Liz.
Thanks, Sean. So as well as supporting people's mental health and well-being, as Sean's just described, all of the self-advocacy groups were also doing things to help people with their physical health, to maintain good physical health during the pandemic. So, for example, they helped their members to eat well by offering online cooking sessions. They were helping their members to keep fit and exercise during the pandemic by providing online fitness classes. And of course, we knew that was really quite early on. We knew how important that was during the lockdown, that people, wherever they could, needed to kind of keep mobile, especially if they were shielding. They helped people to get their medication, either by liaising with pharmacists or collecting medication on behalf of people. really importantly, self-advocacy groups were helping their members to access health services during lockdown, and also helping people to access those health services that had moved online, which obviously was a really big change that happened quite early on in the pandemic. And the other crucial thing that self-advocacy groups were doing, which government were not doing, was providing easy read information about the coronavirus and how people could keep safe and well. Next slide, please, Rachel. All of the self-advocacy groups we spoke to had spent a lot of time and energy helping their members to get the additional help and support they needed. And we call this signposting. So they spent a lot of time managing referrals to GPs for their members, and managing referrals to social services and also to food banks. They also helped their members to sort out any benefits issues that had arisen during the pandemic, for example, PIP assessments. So self-advocacy groups were really kind of the linchpin in ensuring that their members could get the additional help they needed. And final slide, please, Rachel. So an absolute headline finding that came out of our research was that self-advocacy groups had gone above and beyond in terms of the support that they'd provided to their members. There was a real sense that these groups had cared for their members and had pulled out all the stops to ensure that their members were well and safe and healthy and happy and were keeping connected. So this quote that we've included, there were lots of quotes like this, so this was just one that we chose. This particular person said, "My group is always there, been there to pick me up even through lockdown. They've been really good. I think they've overworked themselves to help other people." And this was reflected across all the groups we spoke to. And groups, as you all know, putting in extra hours, often providing cover 7 days a week at the real high point of the pandemic. So I think it's really important to acknowledge that additional work that the self-advocacy groups put in to support their members. And I'll stop there. Thank you.
Got too many things to click on today. Thanks, guys. And now we're going to hear from two of the self-advocacy groups that were included in the research. So we're going to start off with ACE. So I can see Mark.
I'm here, Rachel. I'm here.
And there's Chewy.
So you might have to spotlight both, probably.
No, you're all right, Mark. Can you give us
okay.
screen, Rachel?
Yeah, have to let me know what I've got to say, Chewy and Mark, as well.
Oh.
No, Steve, you're all right. We've worked it out. You could be there to jump in when we need you, all right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay, cheers.
Can you give me permission to share my screen, Rachel?
Oh, I don't know why you don't have that already.
I haven't tried yet.
Oh, you should have it.
I've got it.
There you go.
There we go.
Right.
There you go. Ah,
bear with me a second,
put it
Mark.
on that format. Yeah. Okay. Good. Okay. So yeah, we're Ace Handler. We're one of the obviously of the advocacy organisations for user-led self-advocacy for people with learning disabilities and or autism. So we'll tell you what we've been up to over this time. So back in March, we decided to lock down a week earlier than probably most people. So this would give us time to get ourselves organised for the future, because basically we're not sure what the future would sort of held really. Okay, Chewy.
Okay, so we knew we needed to find a way to connect with people we support. The how-to guides were just one example of what we can do to support people to access online activities.
So easy read guide on how to get onto Zoom, WhatsApp, and also Microsoft Teams was created by us, by Ace Anglia, to support people with learning disabilities and autism to access online meetings and groups.
Yeah, so once we had connected people, we started to have weekly self-advocacy meetings.
So some members, sorry about that. Some members of Ace Anglia on online, Ace Anglia online organisations, self-advocacy group had been come up with an idea of to do an online gallery every week, so people can send in something to creative, and they can so what we've been doing. So we're currently up to week 30, and what we mean by online gallery, it doesn't actually mean just by art. We were looking at it from, you know, just pictures and stuff, but we also did music and other things as well. And then that goes on to the Ace Anglia online gallery for our website.
Thank you, Mark. Okay, so we've also hosted 3 Suffolk People First online events. This is our what we would normally, I hate the word normal, but what normally we'd be hiring a big hall, and we have about 100 people from all across Suffolk. So yes, we've had 3 of these, Mark.
Yeah, so in May, one of our themes was a keeping safe. So we had presentations from the Suffolk Police, Norfolk and Suffolk Victim Care, and Suffolk Ordinary Live website.
Okay, thank you, Mark. So in September, our theme was health and wellbeing, and we had presentations from the NHS Primary Learning Disability Nurses, One Life Suffolk, the Work Ready Toolkit, and we also made some films, online films, about how people were coping at the, you know, looking after their own health and wellbeing, and our own, everybody's, you know. Mark?
Yeah, so this month, so in December, so our theme was in relationships. So we had also had presentations from the Supported Loving campaign, the Suffolk Trading Standards, here we go, Terence Hiddings at the Ormiston, Ormiston family.
That's it.
And thank you, Chewy. And the Suffolk MASH, Suffolk MASH. So, and also we did, there was some films about relationships as well.
We always struggle with MASH like everybody, so multi-agency safeguarding hub, we think. So these conferences were very well attended. Each one probably had about the same amount of guys, 50 to 60 people on. So yeah, they're all very well attended. Mark?
So, and then also, on Wednesdays, we've been doing health and wellbeing meetings. So these are attended by self-advocates and the primary learning disability nurses.
Okay. In October, we hosted a meeting with the Mental Health Partnership called A Very Different Conversation, which was all around looking at people's mental health needs and talking and consulting to the sort of high upper people, which was a very provocative, thought-provoking session.
Yeah. So over 45 people apparently attended to that. So I thought I'd help Chewy along this one. So we also had a list. We were listening to people with disabilities during this time. It's been very important. So we've got a video to show you.
Yeah, I can't remember if I've enabled sound, so let me know. Okay. Oh, it's you, Steve.
I feel that I need to be
included. No, but it's all right.
No, you need help. I want to help. I need support to be included in things. For example, if don't Zoom meetings for you need to have the numbers, ID numbers, and the password. For me personally, with what I've got learning disability, so I need to have.
Sorry, is the sound not enabled?
Yeah, the sound wasn't enabled now.
Let me just quickly enable it. I just
sorry about
do it on my own one. Right. So I'll just go a little bit because we were doing all right for time, weren't we? But,
we were, yeah.
Let's just go back.
Included in things, you know, like being online and that sort of thing, and I feel I need support to be included in things.
For example, if don't Zoom meetings for you need to have the numbers, the ID numbers, and the password. For me personally, with what I've got learning disability, so I need to like have somebody like text me when the time for the meeting and the numbers so I can then put them in. Sometimes I forget.
Right information of what's going on.
Sometimes there's too much to get involved with. I sometimes find it difficult to handle it all, really.
Need help, talk to people. You know, when other people ask questions, I get stuck a bit.
You need time, do you?
Yeah, time, yeah, I think.
We're all different in who we are, aren't we? You see, everyone needs to understand the information about people so as that they don't end up like hurting their feelings in case it's something what they got or what they believe in.
Yeah, so that's basically that. So yeah, I'm sure toward the end we'll give you like contact details and stuff like this if you want to contact us. Also have a look at the videos and stuff like that. So thank you for listening.
Yeah, thank you. Cheers.
Thank you for sharing. I'm always just shocked by how much you guys are doing. You just seem so busy all of the time. It's very, very impressive. And next we've got Sunderland who are going to be speaking. So we've got Matthew, Samantha and Andy, I think, but none of you are on my screen right now. So I hope some of you are here.
Hello. Can you see me? You'll probably see me because I'm talking now, Rachel. Have I got the option to share the screen as well?
I think you should.
Right.
All of them have.
Oh, and there's Matthew. I can see you guys now. You're all popping up.
Right. 2 seconds. Why isn't this working? Sorry.
If you go on slideshow, I think you should be able to do it from that one.
There we go. There we go. Can everybody see that okay, yeah? Yeah. So I'm Samantha. I'm a development worker and self-advocate at Sunderland People First. And for anyone that doesn't know, Sunderland People First is a community interest company, and we're user-led by self-advocates with a learning disability or who are autistic. And our business is about improving lives of people with a learning disability and autistic people. Matthew, I don't know if you would like to introduce yourself.
Mm-hmm. So I'm Matthew. I'm also from Sunderland People First. I'm one of the directors, and I'm also a self-advocate. And yeah, I'm one of the autistic advocates as well.
So what we found was that obviously we went into lockdown and nobody was really prepared, because a lot of our work is do with meeting in person. We immediately had to reach out to all of our advocates to make sure everybody was okay. We quickly learned about Zoom and how to set up Zoom meetings. So we initially started off by just connecting with our advocates that we work with regularly, starting off with phone calls, checking that everybody was okay, and then trying to get everybody online using Zoom, using WhatsApp. So we started having started off daily meetings, where we did things like just touching base, talking about upcoming work, sharing information, because at that point there was no easy read information from the government. So we obviously were thinking we need to obviously make it accessible for people. So we were answering a lot of really hard questions, some of which we didn't even know the answers to. Then we started to think this is going to be a bit longer, so we looked at ways to make the sessions a bit more fun as well. So we started doing cuckoo with our guys, quizzes, things like that. And then we were commissioned by the local clinical commissioning group, CCG, do a project called Keeping People Connected, and that involved us phoning people with a learning disability and autistic people to ensure that they were in enough support, they were able to get their medications, answer any questions, if there were any problems that they were having. And that evolved into our Keeping People Connected group, which Matthew, it's really weird because I can't see you on the screen. Do you want to start talking about that?
Keeping People Connected is kind of this social group that we've set up for people who are in Sunderland. They can drop in and basically we give them like easy read information on like government updates and like local council updates and stuff like that. Just to keeping them sort of informed about like, you know, changes with the coronavirus regulations and stuff like that. And just like maybe some news they haven't heard about that's might change the way they have to do things when they're going out. But not just that, also just having like the same things we're doing with our own team, which is, you know, coming up with quizzes and some more fun activities to sort of break up being stuck behind a screen talking about meetings endlessly. But yeah, and we've had we run those sessions every Monday and Wednesday, and we get like a regular amount of people coming in now, and it's a really good time, you know, keeping them all sort of keeping positivity up and keeping them all sort of together and making sure that everyone's okay. And it's just really nice to see people you know, smile through it. It's really good. So
one of the other things that we've been doing as well is we're having regular learn and share meetings, and that can involve Health Watch Sunderland, where we talk about obviously any issues to do with people being able to access services, any questions I have about how services are running. Flu jabs is a big thing. Also, you know, sharing information about symptoms, where to go to get tested, when you should go and visit your doctor, when you shouldn't, things like that. So we've been having those meetings, which have been really helpful for people. We've also had meetings, learn and share meetings with the community engagement team with the Northumbria Police. Because what we've also were realising, we were getting a lot of questions about, will I get arrested if I go to the shop? Am I going to get arrested for going out of my house? Because as we know, at first the government wasn't giving clear guidelines that people could understand. So the police reached out to us and said, look, we would like to help, and we're happy to share any information, answer any questions, go small. So we've had quite a few meetings there where they've talked about, you know, how the rules work, how they engage with people, and really reassured the community that it's not like scary as you think. You're not going to get arrested, you're not going to get fined. Obviously they want to help people understand the rules, so that's been really good. And we've had some laughs with our community engagement team. We've got a really good relationship with them. It's been good because some people have been a little bit scared of talking to the police, and having that connection with the community engagement team, they've really realised that the police are there to help you, not just to arrest you or fine you. So they've been very helpful as well. We've been reaching out to a lot of other self-advocacy groups because we realised that a lot of groups are doing a lot of the work, like you mentioned, sharing easy read, creating easy read, making videos, putting out information. But then we also realised that a lot of groups wanted to connect with other people, the social things that we're hearing about. Oh, this group's done a Kahoot course, how can we do that? This group's doing a quiz. So we've had quite a lot of quizzes, seem to be a big thing. Great fun. We've connected with Speak Up, Us People First, Hearing, Self-Advocacy, People in Action, lots of other groups where we've had some like fun sessions where we've had knockout quizzes and challenged each other, and they've been really good. And during those we also share some of the work that we've been doing and ideas, so that's been really good fun. Matthew?
yeah, we've also been also with relearning sort of how to get meetings going again with being working from home and stuff like that. We've also been learning how to do training as well, which we used to do quite a bit of when we were still being able to go out into physical locations and things like that. But now we're doing it with groups over Zoom. and some of the group have been delivering hate and hate crime training, which is co-delivered with the police. That's something that we worked with them on. And also some of our group have just learned, we've actually been trained ourselves to do some pass it on mental health awareness training. And we learned how to deliver that. And now that we can actually use that training we've gotten to train other people in spreading mental health awareness, because it's training like that's really important at times like this. So I think with the amount of training that we've been getting done over the course of the years, it's been really handy and really helpful to a lot of our own group, as well as it's going to be to people that we deliver it to. So
yeah, and we're now obviously looking at how, because this is going to be for a bit longer than we expected, we might not have physical training sessions for a little while longer. We're looking at how we can adapt a lot of our packages, like reach a bigger community. One of the big issues has been, like you mentioned, the problem with people being able to access technology, knowing how to use it. So we have worked with a group called Media Savvy in being able to deliver technology, so smartphones, tablets, laptops to people in the community, so that they're able to access things like Zoom or Microsoft Teams or FaceTime, so that they can connect with family, friends, other groups, things like that. And they've also been delivering training on how to do that as well. So we've also done a lot of work internationally and nationally with other self-advocacy groups like Connections. We did something with Inclusion International in June, I think it was. It was called, I'll just have to check my notes because I always have long titles. It was Self-Advocacy Organisation Strategies to Protect Our Rights During and After COVID. Basically what that means is we were looking at how can we ensure that people with a learning disability and autistic people are having their rights met due to all the changes with coronavirus, and then afterwards as well. We know that some laws have changed. We know that there's been inequalities for people regarding health. So this was a massive international conference online that was fantastic. Actually showed that self-advocacy is very important, and especially at times like this, because our government isn't the only government that's kind of failed a lot of the information they've put out there and in taking support away. Lots of governments have failed their people, and self-advocacy groups all over the world are coming together and creating easy read information, providing support to the people most vulnerable in their communities, creating videos, making sure people have like masks, even PPE equipment, making sure that people can connect with other people and that they're not isolated and they don't feel alone. So it's been a huge eye-opener in realising that self-advocacy groups are absolutely crucial to the way the world runs, really. I mean, the government could really learn something from the amount of amazing work that all of you guys are doing currently. Because some of the stuff that you've done and in such a short space of time, the government is still trying to catch up with. So I think, we need to start employing a lot of self-advocates in quite, big positions to say, you know what, have you thought of doing this? Because it will be dead easy, it will be quick. So we keep connecting with them. We've just recently had another global self-advocacy summit that we've been part of. And we shared a video that the We Are Human 2 group made, which is all about how we're fed up of reports and, recommendations. We want action and we want it now. So we made a video saying that we wanted action and we wanted, things to start happening rather than all this talk. And that was shared at the Global Self-Advocacy Conference as well. So I think what this has highlighted for a lot of people, and for me especially, and has actually made me realise what an amazing job I have, even though it's quite hard, is that self-advocacy groups really need to be funded you know, local like councils and stuff and services, NHS, they really need to be thinking about putting money into these groups, because they can relieve a lot of pressure from councils, from government, from NHS, if they're part of that process, being paid for that work. Because so far, a lot of this work that's gone out is not being paid for except by actual group themselves. So, yeah. So that's us basically.
Thank you both. I don't know if I can force you to stop sharing.
My screen seemed to freeze. Sorry, Rachel.
No, don't worry. Thank you very much, both of you. I think how much people have connected through the pandemic has been really amazing, and how much we can do when we all come together has really been highlighted. Oh, don't know if that was someone in someone's background. We meant to have 10 minutes to discuss, but I think we're going to cut it to 5 just to make sure Jane gets a chance to share the research that she's been doing. Corinda, you've had your hand up. If anyone else wants to stick their hand up while Corinda's asking his.
Yeah. So, hi Samantha, hi again. I said, well, the way you came about Sunderland, can it be also in London too, or is it just Sunderland?
Oh, who? Sorry, who was that aimed at? That question.
Samantha.
Samantha.
Sorry, what was that question again?
You know when you get like for like places, can it be also with London? I'm in London. So
You're in London, yeah.
Yeah. I just want to know, can it be London too?
Are you asking if you can join in with some of the things that they're doing, Corinda? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
Yes, I definitely. I think Rachel said she was going to share details of all the self-advocacy groups. I'm more than happy for you to share our my email. We do all sorts of things, Corinda. We do quizzes, we do, bingo even. So if you want to connect with our group, that would be fantastic. We would love that.
Yeah,
that's for everybody.
Like
if you
I'm
want to
in
connect.
London, I knew London, so I just want to know like how it works.
Well, at the minute, obviously, it will be on Zoom, but we're more than happy to connect with you on some Zoom meetings. Because obviously we're not able to travel at the minute, but that's all. But actually, because Zoom, we can actually connect with a lot more people a lot easier. So if anybody is interested in getting in touch with us and making connections, we're more than happy for that to happen.
Great.
You're welcome to join any ACE groups, Corinda, as well. Rachel can share our details with you.
Yeah, and Rachel, I'm just sending you a private message.
Okay, thank you. I'll have a look in a minute once I stop being needed for this bit. Paul, I think you had your hand up next. Oh, there's 2 Pauls and you both had your hand up. If we go Paul James first, is that all right?
Hiya. Obviously, I'm here to deal with County Council, but I'm also an self-advocate for Sunderland People First. And I'm quite new to Sunderland People First. I joined in June time, which was obviously through the pandemic, and when a lot of people with learning disabilities were shielding, and it really boosted my confidence, and also just the boredom as well. It helped with boredom, and it's really good to be part of the group. Just to really second what Sam and Matthew said, really, it varies the amount of work that we get involved with.
Thanks, Paul. It's great that you had the chance to join during the pandemic, and the pandemic's not stopped you from doing that.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it was really an ideal time. Yeah, ideal time.
Excellent. I can see Aisha's got a hand up too, so if we go to other Paul and then we go to Aisha. Is that
Yeah,
okay?
like with me and Ben, since we were on lockdown, and when me and Ben and Sean, we connected to all our members now online on Zoom because it was easy to use. We've been doing like a lot of stuff, like lot meetings, and we have our, I think it was the second week or third weekend we were on Zoom doing our the nightclub, and that was fantastic. And that one thing, talking to you guys and hearing what you guys doing and what we roughly doing, like easy read communication for our members and staff going out and giving it all like easy read guide of the the guide of the lockdown. It's really interesting now, and where like with Rachel connecting with everybody, and to work with all of you guys, and I would keep this going till we come out of this lockdown.
Thanks, Paul. I can see Gary's got his hand up as well. So if we go to Aisha and then Gary, and then we might save any more questions until after Jane's presented, just so we make sure we've got enough time. Is that okay with everyone?
Yeah.
Go on, Aisha.
You know what during like this pandemic and the first one, it's made me feel, it's two things actually. It's made me feel like privileged to like, because without the lockdown, I think everyone would have just been so busy and not connecting with each other. And like Lucian speaking up has done loads of things. Like we have a music night now on Friday where you're on Zoom and you send your suggestions into whoever's DJing, and it's like really good because we can like connect with each other and just be, and it's like, I think since during the lockdown, like I've like got a lot more, like I'm cooking a lot more and I'm just doing like general things. So I think at first I started to miss work, but during the time you just like, you get used to it, like it just becomes like a part of your everyday life, like, so it's just been good. Yeah.
Great, thank you for sharing. I think there's lots of positive things, isn't there, as well, that we can take away, as well as the things that we maybe think people can do a bit better.
Yeah.
Gary?
Yeah, well, mine's not probably as interesting as that, but mine is about connecting with other self-advocacy groups across the world. Don O'Callaghan is one that's bringing from the United States and Australia together. And I know that New Zealand and Canada are, I think, meeting together as well. And it'd be good to actually meet with these groups, these guys, though there'll be a difference in time zone, because what will be something in the day will probably be during the evening. So you have to bear that in mind. Also, that self-advocacy groups need around about £200,000 or more a year to actually survive, and they need that funding over 5 years. So that's what we should be talking about, and that money is core funding, not project funding, and hopefully to help employ more people who have a learning disability or autism in staff roles or in bigger roles in their group. And I see we need to sort of really come up with a business plan. So I always think big. That's me. And I've been doing this, been in the self-advocacy movement for over 36 years now.
Thanks, Gary. Jodie, I can see you've got your hand up. Is it a quick one? Or can we wait till after Jane's done her presentation?
It's a bit similar to Aisha. Us guys that speak up on Friday and Saturday nights, we've been using our Speak Up Zoom link to get together and have a few drinks and have a bit of a banter about things and stuff like that. Because obviously, at the moment, we can't go and visit our friends, can we? I mean, like, I wanted to visit Vicky, but I can't. So what we do, we come on Zoom, have a few drinks together and have a laugh and either play some music or whatever, and people have enjoyed that. So that's all it was.
Great, thank you, Jodie. I wonder if people are running sessions like that, they're happy for other people to go to. You could maybe share the link in the chat or send it to me and I can send it out to everyone.
Oh, yeah. The one area.
Yeah, because you guys have all got such exciting things going on.
Yeah, I was going to say, Rachel, that was going to be one of my questions, and I've already done it with Chewy, because as me and Mark Conger on here, we don't know any of these people very well, so we find it difficult to know how we can stay in touch with absolutely everybody. So we tend to leave everything to our manager, Chewy, to sort of say, well, he'll keep in touch, and then we'll slowly get in touch. As time goes on, that we'll all, perhaps have a Zoom meeting about all this lockdown and Christmas and everything else, because as part of my disability, I find it difficult to try and get my head around absolutely everything sometimes, and I find it difficult to concentrate with everything and get my head around everything.
Thanks for promoting me, Steve, but I'm not a manager.
Okay, well, that's what I don't know what you are there. An host, then, our Ace Advocate host. You're our manager anyway. You sort us out anyway.
Rachel, one more quick thing. I like the presentations by both groups because it just makes me think that what we can achieve when we're all in it together. And I know to some people in the outside world it might look bad, but it's not as bad as everyone thinks it is. So I think we've done pretty well. Yeah.
Great, thank you.
Sorry, mate. Sorry to interrupt you.
One last question. This is the last one, and then we're going to Jane, definitely. Right, last one.
No, I just realised I saw one myself here, Phil Matt. I thought, huh?
Oh, but that's great that they're here.
Yeah, so, I got one more question to ask Samantha.
Go on.
Samantha, when you meet you online or when you meet you anyone else?
At the minute, we're only able to meet online. One of the things that happened for us was because of the building that we used to be in, it was used by community nurses, the community nursing team as well, and they needed more space to be able to socially distance, and we felt it wasn't going to be a safe environment for our advocates to be in anyway. So we decided to give up our office so they could have more space. We've moved to a new building, which at the minute isn't fully accessible. It was just so we had somewhere that was sort of headquarters. But at the minute, we've decided that it's still not entirely safe for some of our advocates to come and meet because they're quite vulnerable. So at the minute, and I think probably into the middle of the new year, it's only going to be online until we know for definite that it's safe to meet in person.
Right, and if I can Rachel my email, then I can forward it to Samantha.
That would be great if I can get in touch with you, Corinda, for you to join us online. Yeah, that would be great if Rachel can pass that information on.
I'll sort that out.
Thank you.
So we're going to jump to Jane's slides. Maybe. Oh, this doesn't like me to share. Let's see. Oh, here we go. There you are, Jane.
Hi everyone, I'm Jane from the OU. So in the study that Lorna, Sean and Liz shared with you earlier, you heard about how self-advocacy groups were using technology to support people with learning disabilities during the pandemic. And the study I want to share with you now, we wanted to learn about how people in other support roles were using technology. So that's advocacy groups, day services, teachers, health and social care workers, parents, siblings, other learning disability charities, and paid support workers. So what we did is we asked them to fill in an online question. Oh, sorry, Rachel, for next slide. I practiced this last night too.
Okay. Yeah.
So we asked them to fill in an online survey, and we also then followed up with interviews. So including the self-advocacy groups that you heard about before, in total we conducted interviews with 44 supporters and 20 people with learning disabilities about how they were using technology. Next slide, please. So the main findings were supporters were using technology, as you've heard, but they're also having to use non-technological methods like just the normal landline phone, but also posting out newsletters by the post and sending out activity packs by the post. And this was because quite a few people with learning disabilities either didn't want to use technology or didn't have access to technology. But where technology was being used, it was a whole range of things that were being used. But not surprisingly, the most popular were mobile phones and the Zoom that we're on this afternoon. And a real key finding from the study was that the supporters who were using technology to help people with learning disabilities during the pandemic were having to learn new things in order to do that support. And they were really problem solving, they were really creative. And what really struck me was that they just weren't afraid to fail. They were going to try something. If it didn't work, it didn't matter. They'd try something else. And then the other key finding was all the people we were talking to, for the most part, were providing remote support. They weren't going into the homes of somebody with a learning disability. They didn't live with that person. And as creative and as brilliant as they were with their support, what they were telling us is that they still needed somebody in the home there with the person with a learning disability to help. Often that was to help set up the Zoom, for example, or to problem solve if things went wrong, like we've had a bit, sound goes or something like that. So that was that real important message that as brilliant as these remote supporters were, they still needed that in-home support, as we called it. Next slide, please. So we heard stories of people not having access to technology, and a typical reason for that was cost, particularly for mobile data. We heard stories of people with learning disabilities not knowing how to use technology. And we also heard stories of people not having the right support in their homes to use technology. And this was particularly around care homes, residential homes and supported living situations. And we'd hear what you might think were silly stories like, the staff in the home would have their own laptop, but they weren't allowed, the policies wouldn't allow them to share it with the person with a learning disability. Often the staff didn't know how to use technology and was said, oh no, I don't know how to help you. And there are other silly things like the Wi-Fi just not extending to the person's own private living space or bedroom, so that they didn't feel they could use Zoom, for example, without everybody else hearing. But there were good stories, and you've heard lots of them this afternoon about what technology could offer people. And those stories were about helping people with learning disabilities with their mental health, with their well-being, and helping them stay connected with family and friends, and particularly self-advocacy groups, as you've heard. Next slide, please. But another thing that people in the study wanted to celebrate and share was, and what they said they'd really learnt from the pandemic, was the amazing things that people with learning disabilities can do with technology, with the right support. And to be fair, some people were quite surprised by that and said, I didn't expect it, but it's brilliant. And I think that's something we need to hold on to, is what people with learning disabilities can do. Next slide, please. So the kind of conclusions that we've made that we want to take to service providers and funders, CCGs and others, is how it's really important for people with learning disabilities to have access to technology, but they also need the right support to help them use that technology. And from the stories that we were hearing, it seems that support can be remote, but also needs to be in-home support too, and that those two probably need to work and collaborate together. And I think there is a message there for those who are funding services and assessing and auditing service quality around just making sure that support staff know how to use technology so that they can support people with learning disabilities to use it, that they're confident in using it, and that there's no silly policies and, you know, and organisational rules in place that just stop access happening. So that's really our report in a nutshell. We do have our, you know, a long report online, easy read version, and a short version with just the recommendations, and we'll share those afterwards. So the pandemic's been scary for lots of reasons, but it's also shown us what all of us can do with creativity and problem solving. Thank you.
Thanks, Jane. Does anybody have any questions? Or Mark, was that your hand up? Go on, Mark.
Yeah, I've just sort of a question. I know we're doing it at the minute and it's ongoing anyway. Is there a chance, I know this sounds really, really quick, very quick thinking here. Is there any chance that we could maybe help out, you know, as learning disabilities and further conversations on this with yourselves as in within the open universities? I know that we've done it today. I know we were sharing it today and sharing the slide of our own experiences and stuff, but it's obviously those further talks. And I think if we can also maybe be able to continue maybe working with people like, you know, Rachel, and obviously that's happening anyway, regardless of what the funding mechanism is like. But just wondered if we can actually look at working alongside with you a lot more in, you know, as an ongoing thing, because I think there are more things, obviously, and it'll be useful to see how it would work from not just from service providers and stuff like that. Obviously, that's a big issue as well. You know, I'll cut off at 11 p.m. and all the rest of it. Oh, we can't access it. But it's also about obviously what can the government do to help us in the long term. You know, with all sorts of things like this, because this is very, very powerful.
Thank you. I think that there's two things. Absolutely, ourselves at the OU with Learning Disability England, and all of you, if you want to, are gearing up to do some lobbying around this in order to change things at the policy and the funding level. At the OU, we're also thinking about trying to find ways, including looking for funding, whereby we can create some kind of training material for support workers, however you define support workers, where we can help them gain the skills and the confidence they need to support people to use technology, particularly to provide support remotely. And I think all of the guys that have joined us today could, you know, if they were willing, and if we can find the funding and whatever, have got videos and resources and things that could go into a training pack. And I think that would be fabulous if we could make that happen. And if you're interested, then please do contact us afterwards.
Well, I think that's a good idea, because, like, for me, a lot of people, like, before all of this is like, come, oh yeah, by the way, I'm Aisha, by the way, and I work with Lucian, speaking of, we've done a lot of work around the pandemic and what people are scared of and what people are afraid. I think it varies for everyone, really. I think just not seeing people, but it's a good way of, like, Zoom, and I'm glad Zoom and Teams are really involved, because it's a good way for people to just stay connected and just they don't feel so isolated and
Thanks, Aisha.
I just wondered if there's a way to connect with Learning Disability England for the easy read links. So because a lot of us, we want to find information out quickly, but it's so hard to read and understand what it's about.
Do you mean for the research, Natasha?
Yeah, not just for the research, but anything which, you know, when they said in the last few meetings that, you know, anything, they were talking about COVID and what happens in COVID, and they automatically did it in easy read. So anything which is happening, it's so hard to get to find information out and to understand the information. That makes sense.
I think lots of the groups on here, I think, are trying to make that a little bit easier. I can see we've got quite a few hands up. If I think it goes Gary, Corinda, Stephen. Is that okay?
Yeah, my question is, in Spain and in Belgium, they actually give out this reconditioned computers, and that's all funded by the Spanish and Belgian governments. And it's something that we should really do something here, and also to making sure that we got affordable technology, because it can be expensive to actually, you know, to fund like broadband and all that sort of thing. So that needs to be helped and funded. Why can't we do something similar like what the schools are doing, and giving out reconditioned laptops to our self-advocates, for instance?
Absolutely, Gary. And I think quite a lot of the people I spoke to said that they were accessing kind of special funds for, you know, giving technology. But I think the problem is it's that special one-off funding and kind of having to justify why you need to provide it for people with learning disabilities. Whereas it sounds like the examples you're giving, Gary, are just like, yeah, just have it, you know.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. That's what the Spanish and Belgian governments are doing.
Yeah, that sounds really good.
Corinda?
Thanks, mate. Yeah, great. One question, like to meet you, by the way. One question to ask you is that some people might not see. So is there any audio that they can listen? Because if people can't see or blind and they want it, but is there any audio to that?
So I think the question was, if people have problems seeing, is there any way that they can have audio?
Yeah.
I think the short answer is yes, but what you've raised is a particular issue around all of us in the community needing specialist knowledge about assistive technologies. And so there are aids to communication centres and things like that we can contact. I can't give you specific answers, but I think it's just part of that need to connect up all the people who know stuff. So the answer is yes, Kavinda.
Sorry, could I come in here for a second? My name is Wayne Chapman. I work for Seeability as a London Eye Care champion. I'm actually visually impaired myself, totally blind in fact, but I don't have a learning disability. There is actually something, if people have access to the website and the internet, is called NVDA, and that is actually a free screen reader, which can be downloaded.
Perfect, thank you.
And also, like,
I would not say the same thing. It's all right.
Or like, if people are not taught or anything like that, I want you to help them.
In what kind of way do you mean, Trinda?
Like, if people cannot, like, some people may not talk like, what's his name? From last week in the wheelchair.
Oh, okay. From the session the other week.
Yeah.
Samir, was it?
Samir, that's him. Yeah, he's on that people. So how would it like communicate like with like people like that?
Well, I suppose we need to work with people's support workers as well, don't we? Because I think Samir's support are really helpful to him, aren't they? And they know exactly what works for him. don't they? I think some of it's quite complicated, isn't it, Trinder? Someone else just had their hand up and you've all moved on my screen and I forgot who it was. Stephen, was it you?
Kevin.
Yes, it was. Yes, I was quite interested in what Jan Walmsley was saying, that staying in touch is important, which I think it is during this thing what we're all going through, and sort of staying connected with you people like from Sunderland and that, which is what ACE is doing, which is a good thing. But also the other thing is which some people with learning disabilities find difficult, like myself. It's all about basically getting the balance right, because sometimes if we stay in touch and say do a Zoom meeting, say for 3 hours, sometimes that's too much for people who have other responsibilities to do and that. Because I know of somebody who's with ACE and they did a Zoom meeting for 3 hours, and I thought, well, I wouldn't be able to cope with that. And sometimes, like I've had with a chap called Chewy who works with us, he's on here now, that when he gives me a meeting every day, I think, oh, that's difficult to cope with because I have so much myself to do and dealing with my dad who's had a stroke and that. So in some ways, it's good to have meetings like this, and in some ways it's not. But it's all about finding the 50-50 balance, right? Because one of the things that I like is perhaps having a Zoom meeting like this, perhaps once a week instead of just for about an hour or so, rather than perhaps every day for 3 hours. Because sometimes with technology in general, things like everything else always gets out of hand and people say the wrong things, and then there's trouble. You see, so it's sort of all about getting the balance right and how much time people have got for themselves and how much time they've got to deal with everybody around the world, basically. So we've got to come to an agreement. Yes, it's good for everyone to keep in touch with everyone, but also good that once everyone is in touch with everyone, just be careful they don't overdo it, sort of thing, and not keep sort of talking like for 3 hours every day, sort of thing. So that's it's a case of like having a day of rest one day and perhaps going on it the next day or something, and that's something I've got to bring up with Chewy about all these meetings he keeps doing. So if he does one meeting on a Tuesday, he can perhaps cancel the regular meetings he have like on a Monday and a Wednesday every week. So it's everything in moderation.
You can see Mark shaking his head at that. He doesn't want
Find which one's on.
So everything in moderation is all right.
Everybody.
So what do you reckon? What does anyone reckon to that?
Yeah, everybody have a choice to go to any of the meetings. You can go to a meeting whenever you want, and you don't have to go to every single one. Just because people don't invite for a lot of Zoom meetings, as we very well know in this group, in this massive group we've got here, everybody got choices. So if you don't want to go this week, then you don't have to. Just like any meetings outside, normal outside circumstances, and that we all have choices. Yeah. I've also posted, but it might be a bit of a scroll down now, but I have also posted the NVDA website for those who are visually impaired, who actually, want a free screen reader on their Windows desktop and laptop computers. So yeah, it might go lost in this chat, but I'm sure we can sort that out.
Thanks, Mark. Both Pauls again have hands up. Go Paul Scarrett first.
Yeah, I can't remember the name. Edward, just wondering if you could give me a link of your nightclub sometime. Love to come and join your group on a Friday night. If you could send me, I'll send you my email. If you could send me the link if it's on Zoom, please.
Oh, you mean the Friday night? What's it? Jamming. I think.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, it's really fun. It's really fun. Yeah. Yeah.
I'll put my email in the chat if anyone wants to join. Just email me.
Thanks, Marsh.
I put my email in private anyway. Rachel got my email.
Yep, I do. Other Paul.
Hello.
Just a few points really of what's being talked about there. I get the thing about being visually impaired because I'm visually impaired myself. and I've had very little sight like this since I was born. So I do really get the visual side of things. Zoom, it's okay, it can be improved. For those using Microsoft Teams, it's a pain. Yeah, I'll just leave it as that as far as Teams goes. It's a pain, simple as.
Yeah, I noticed that. Yeah, as well. And I'm partially sighted as well. Yeah.
Microsoft Teams, right? You can't do anything like do what you had. So some people have problems with Microsoft Teams, and some people have problems with all what work for you, basically. So let's say like if you work for Microsoft Teams, or Zoom, or Skype, or Google, then you'll be like that. With Microsoft Teams, then you don't have any what's the word? Caption thing. With Zoom, they have caption.
I think different people find different ones easier, don't they? We've heard a lot of people prefer Zoom, but I know other people prefer other ones. And Kev, apparently you've had your hand up for a while, but there's too many people and I can't see everybody. And I still can't find you on my screen, but please do jump in if you've still got a question.
Just unmute and then it will come up.
Oh, I can't spot Kev at all now. I wonder if
Rachel.
Oh,
he was driving in the car, so he might have disappeared.
Oh, okay. We'll come back to him then. We've run over by quite a lot, which quite a lot of you guys are known to do. But I had a quick poll that we wanted to stick up at the end, and we wanted to ask you guys what actions you could take to help us share the research that's been done, because we think what everyone's been doing is really important, and we would really appreciate if you could help us do some of those things. So I can see some of the sentences look a bit long and the writing's a bit short. So we wanted to ask if you could maybe tell your local authority about the work that self-advocacy groups have been doing. If you could talk to the local media about the work, if you could maybe share it on Twitter or Facebook, or if you could tell your other friends. I can see lots of you are answering, and it would be great if you could do that. So I'm going to send out the links again to the reports afterwards, and I'm sure we'll be putting it on our social media too. It would be great if you could share with everybody. Let me see if I can. Oh, I'll wait, give it another second before I share the answers with you all. And my last ask was that if you could maybe stick in the chat what you've thought of today's session, if it's been useful, what's been good, or if things haven't been great, what could we change to make it better? Beth can maybe use some of those bits when she evaluates. It would be great if you could do that for us.
Some of them, Rachel, I didn't know what to put. I just put two of them, because one was about the report to the local authority and report to the local media, and I don't know how to do any of them, so I'll have to have help with Chewy with that. That's all right.
I put 3.
Oh, Dorinda's put 3. See, in fact, putting more than one is great.
Yeah, so don't worry about that. I put 3.
Thanks, everyone. I'll show you what people have put. Sorry if I've just cut you off.
Rachel. Oh, no.
Go on, Aisha.
Oh. No, you know what? I put it's been good, but I don't know how to. What's it called? Oh God, what's the word? Can't remember the words. How to like scroll it up the bar so everyone can see it. I can't remember how to do that.
Are you on your phone? I'm
No,
not sure
on
how
my
you
lap.
send off your phone. If anyone knows, maybe share that.
Yeah, please on the phone because Hamlet is that way, so I know she's
Yeah.
like on.
Oh.
But so lots of you have said that you will tell your local authority, and I think that's a great step to maybe push them to give everyone a bit more funding. And lots of you will share on Facebook and Twitter, and I think that would be fabulous too. So thank you for coming today, everybody. It's been great to have so many of you here, and for you to have stuck around for an extra 20 minutes. Very much appreciated. I will kind of collect up some links and things that have been in the chat, and I will resend the links to the reports, as well as the recordings and slides and things, and get those out to you in the next couple of days. But thank you to everyone who's presented as well. Been great to hear what you've all been up to. And yeah, we'll hopefully see some of you at future webinars. Thanks for coming, everyone.